It's the story that had to happen sometime. Lupinranger vs. Patranger this week. Tsukasa, leading off from last time, when they were at the restaurant the Lupinranger work at, saw some signs that the characters of the Lupinranger are the same as the servers there, which are, of course, the Lupinranger. And she presents this to her team in a way that maybe they should investigate them. Now, I like this as, well, we kind of know that they're not going to out the opposing team this early in things unless it's going to be the point after which they start working more collaboratively with each other. And yet, you know, with the way they handle it, it's smart in that it's showing both sides as intelligent, reasonable people in that Tsukasa has this lead. She wants her and her coworkers to check it out because, you know, even if she and what is Patranger's name? Sakia think they're not all bad people. Keiichiro is still right in that they need to address them directly at some point. So she sends them on to trying to, you know, stake out Kairi, Tuma, and Umika after researching their backgrounds and how they all seem to mysteriously have abandoned their normal lives to work at this place after a seeming loss or tragedy. Kairi, it also more fleshing out a bit more of their backstories. Kairi's parents are dead, and the person he lost, his older brother, was the only one who looked after him. So, you know, the previous scenes we saw of that where he was a bit more rebellious, it was like teenage rebellion against an authority figure that he didn't actually mean anything about, but the last conversation they had being an argument, that obviously weighs on him. Tuma, it's more revealed that the woman he lost was his fiancée, and when she disappeared, he quits the, when she disappeared, he quits his previous job at a, fine dining restaurant. It's like a French place I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I hate when I can't remember that kind of thing. And Umika actually dropped out of school to join them here, like, which I kind of feel is a waste because, well, the show says she's 18 and they changed professions and careers and stuff a year before when she would have been 17. Meaning, yeah, she was likely right at the end of her schooling, so that feels like a complete and utter waste. Like, 17 is usually their senior year for that, if you remember your own educational days, depending on when her birthday is, at least. But for her to be 18 now, when it's April, the school year would have just ended or is just starting up, either or, for Japanese schools. So, yeah, it would have been right at the end of her education. So I'm thinking, why note her as dropping out, whereas you could have simply done the same thing as Kairi and graduated to then start working at that cafe. It's like, it seems like an odd detail, but it kind of does show them giving up normality for this chance at saving and reviving the ones they lost to Zamigo's actions. So, yeah, good details on them, and good actions by the Patranger in both staking them out and kind of trying to stage a gangler attack with the use of Jim Carter, aka their little helper robot. Now, as I've said in previous vlogs on this, I do not think Jim Carter was a good addition to the team because, well, he seems kind of useless. This, however, helps to prove me wrong in that both his analysis specialty and his mechanical construction kind of makes him look like a gangler. So, you know, he has some use in field duties as like a deceptive measure, or at least he is wisely used as such by... Was Junko Komura writing this one? Just confirming on the page. Written by Kaori Kaneko, who has no other writing credits, which is surprising as there are an actual, you know, there's actual intelligence here. So, maybe that's a new secondary writer that's come in to, like, get some experience and whatnot. Because, honestly, this is a pretty cleverly done story using most of the story assets the show is used by now. Especially since the Lupinranger also have to be clever to not only catch on to this police stakeout of their operation, so to speak, but also, you know, not tip them off when, simply by, you know, their given actions. Especially with the gangler activity, meaning that both teams need to split the party. The Patranger, if they actually want to catch the Lupinranger in the act, can actually, well, go and report to such attacks, whereas, you know, the Lupinranger are likewise going to be occupied with them. So it's a splitting of their forces in multiple ways. When you think about it, when so many of them are tied up with this stakeout plot of not wanting to... I'm repeating myself. I hate it when I do that. But the way they get out of it is pretty clever, in that the Lupinranger have Kogure, the Arsene Lupin descendant go-between, and for the Lupinrangers, who usually gives their assignments, disguise himself as Kairi, while Kairi goes off to investigate the Gangler attack of the week and also the Jim Carter faked attack solo, but using the power of Good Striker to multiply himself, then disguising his doppelgangers as Tuma and Umika to actually evade all of that. And it's, you know, it's using everything that we know about the series to now and the general tropes of the Phantom Thief, you know, just the general Lupin formula where they can disguise themselves as anyone you might actually see and be able to completely buy it. You know, just as part of the genre of that kind of spy thriller where such disguises don't actually look fake. So, you know, I bought this completely. That they would be able to do this from my familiarity with the tropes of being a Lupin the Third fan. Honestly, it's smart for Good Striker to come and help them out for this, as this would not have worked without his help, allowing Kairi to clone himself for this. But regardless, Jim ends up doing, like, double duty this time, in that he's also the reason why both sides uncover a Gangler operation headed by Gauche, aka the dinosaur lady medic of the Gangler, and how, with a downtime with the other Gangler members planning their own schemes, that she is getting a chance to experiment a bit on kidnapping humans and whatnot, and ends up capturing Carter amongst all that when he falls into the entrance to her lair, which the Lupinranger actually trying to find earlier, but kept getting sidetracked from it. Of course, the silliness is that their big hideout fake entrance, it's just a push door that masquerades itself against the framework of a wall. And, you know, if you shoot in the right way, you don't actually see the edges of those, and if it's a tight enough edge, you wouldn't be able to make sight of it regardless. So, yeah, it's smart that, I guess they foreshadowed a bit as Kairi was standing at the exact same wall, and when he was about to push against it, that's when Good Striker tipped him off to Keiichiro being on the watch and stalking him out. But still, you know, even with the foreshadowing, the way Carter kind of falls into it and Gauche kind of does her thing, it works for me, and that it all comes together in each side filling out sides of the plot. But from all of this, the suspicion on the Lupinranger gang's true identities is moderated for the time being, but in a way that shows neither side as incompetent, inept, or, you know, just winning because reasons, which you should all know by now drives me up the wall when the only reason a team wins is by Deus Ex Machina. So, any other details I want to bring up? No, just a pretty good solid episode, and I'm hoping this writer sticks around a bit more, because, you know, Junko Kimura, as I've said, is kind of better as a secondary writer, as you know, having someone to bounce ideas off of and not take the weight of things seems to allow her to have a better chance to develop her ideas. Like, she's good in the environment herself with getting ideas across, but not in the development of the setting itself. At least that's been my experience with her and the stuff she's written that I'm familiar with. So, yeah. Build, however, this is a different change in the status quo, and actually builds off a few things, well, I shouldn't say foreshadowed, but that others would have had issues with last week, in that, well, Sato's not backing down despite winning the proxy fight, and the reason for that is no one knows that Toto won the proxy fight. The entire battle between the two sides was not broadcast to the public like the last one was, meaning that Sato has no reason to not lie and use popular media, or state-run media, I should say, to turn propaganda into truth. This hurts a bit close to home in America, considering we're suffering that exact thing with our current idiot-in-chief. But, yeah, Sato has faked that they won the proxy fight, so now it looks like Toto is the one that's not, following the edicts and agreements of the fight instead of the other way around, and, well, it's hit the fan. I'm just gonna phrase it that way. Of course, team build, for lack of a better phrase, are outmatched by Namba Heavy Industries' newest mechanoid, the Hard Guardians. I wonder if they're going to be succeeded by the Hazard Guardians. But regardless, this has all allowed Isurugi the chance needed to open up 2 panels of the Pandora's box, which devastates the surrounding area where the 3 sides of the skywall meet, or the 3 bridges of the skywall meet in like a triangular crack kind of thing. I'm trying to visualize it with my hands, but I can't exactly get it with, like, fingers, but if you've been watching the show, you know what I mean. And many of the skywall panels have then retracted and expanded into this central area where it's constructing into a tower, which potentially might lead into the revelation that this is a mass terraforming device, which was one of the theories we've been speculating about the Pandora's box in the first place, with both sides calling it the Pandora Tower, and the base of it that's formed so far looking similar to what was seen in the memory fragment Misora saw when they tried to tap into the power of her bangle a few episodes ago. So, yeah, we pretty clearly hit the next stage of the story arc in that now some dumbass is trying to open the box. Well, this also does another thing that we've been wondering when would happen for some time. With so many power-ups created by nebula gas, like the total 60, the problem we've been facing with Build is that with so many artifacts like that to use as forms, and the propensity for writer shows to rely on them less as they get the newer super forms, it's like we were wondering when they were going to take them off the table so they wouldn't be a conflicting issue with why Sento doesn't make use of the varied forms. And this is that point, in that with the resealing of 2 panels of the Pandora's box, that means a full 20 full bottles have been taken off the table for Sento's use. It's not the specific ones that were taken off the table, I don't think were shown, like, in specific, but regardless, if any of those 10 forms that would have been matched to them aren't seen, now we have a reason. We know at the very least that Gatling is still around, as that was visibly seen, but I see the problem at the end of the show becoming, like, them limited to only Well, admittedly, this won't be much of a problem for the Splash Jellies and any higher form full bottles, as those aren't one of the required 60. But it's like, if those get damaged, if those get broken, you're not going to have the resources to repair them or amend that problem. Though, also, it's potentially possible that the recombination of all of the 60 full bottles into the Pandora's box might be subverted by Misora's bangle, and that leading into genius form, in that the last time the Pandora's box released something that Sento could make into a full bottle, aka the Rabbit Tank sparkling form, which the genius full bottle is going to use the same mold of. That all came from a reaction from that, so maybe Genius's formation is going to be seen as a final deterrent to the Pandora box's, like, full opening. I'm musing because I'm curious on how they're going to do Genius form without Sento having samples of all 60 full bottles. Regardless, yeah, this is hitting the fan. I keep saying that, but it really is true, because, well, building a tower out of death and devastation is not a good thing anyway around it, and all sides know it. Especially, Toto's minister, who is feeling like their peaceful solutions to all this went to naught, and now it's like that Churchill quote, you wanted peace and you will get war. I'm forgetting the exact quote, but negotiated for peace, prepared for war, you failed, yeah, wanted peace, you got war. I'm seriously blanking on the historical quote, but I hope someone else in my audience knows what the hell I'm talking about. Kasumi, now with the reality that his homeland isn't being freed from the devastation that's being brought onto it by Sato, is pretty much ready to just go back home and, fight the good fight on his own, since due to their previously stated positions, Toto's not going to get involved there. It's seen as an invasion and an illegal military move that they're trying to avoid to gain the air of legitimacy beyond Sato's propaganda. So, like, they're still obeying the rules, which flies in conflict with Sato's declarations that they've broken the rules of war. And, I see why they're doing that from a politicking and morality standpoint, in how they're still not attacking Sato even after all of this, which is an important context to the whole rules of war thing, in the event some other power decides to get involved in this, which would make this all types of bad. So, like, they need to maintain the air of idea that they are not the aggressors in this conflict, which, of course, will fly in the face of any state-run media that says any statement to the contrary. But, it's hard to live with that, considering the face of all the people suffering like they keep showing with Toto. So it shows that the moral position is almost always the hardest to live with. At least I believe that's the point. And it continues going back to, I guess, Sento's own love and peace philosophy, which, as the show even admits now, it's hard to live up to that in the face of reality. Ideology will always struggle in the face of real concerns, but you can't live without following something that you believe you want to do to make the world better. At least that's how I'm seeing the contrast between that. Granted, I'm a realist and pragmatist, meaning that I can understand a breaking of one's ideological stand if it means, helping or preventing further tragedies. It's kind of my problem with a few previous Kamen Riders and over on Super Sentai as well, where their ideology exists in contrast to reality, but the hero believes more in that fantasy instead of, doing the things that are actually morally right. And it's like, Sento is keeping to this ideology, but not in the way that harms people in reality, or at least his actions are not bringing further harm in and of themselves. It's those who are acting in conflict with that are more causing it. Like, how I constantly blame Shinji Kido and Ryuki for causing more deaths than the other riders simply due to his failure to perform the proper action for the situation. Yeah, that's not happening with Sento. And I guess that's backed up here in how they're trying to get Kazumi to continue working with them for Hokuto as well as Toto, because, the Hell Brothers kind of, in and of themselves, overwhelmed them. So 3-on-3, they lose a member. It's easy for all of them to lose simply through the tactics of divide and conquer. And I like how that's complemented with the Dead Crows, Kazumi's friends that were the Hazard Smash from the previous arc, and how Sento's words about wanting to strive for a better world are not just things thought of from one person's perspective, but it's something everyone dreams of in their own way when they've gone through hardship, and how, echoes of their spirits come to Sento and Kazumi and pretty much urge them forwards. It's actually a very well directed scene where it's like nudging them together and then nudging them forwards into obtaining the future they all wanted, even though they're no longer able to grasp it themselves. And it complements something I truly believe in, and I've stated a few times as philosophy through the videos, in that the dead don't wish the living to seek vengeance in and of themselves. All the dead should want for the living is for them to find happiness in their own lives and carry on for them with their memories. So this is perfectly encapsulating of that, especially as, well, it's complementing what Kazumi earlier did in trying to gain closure through defeat of the Hell Brothers, and, I shouldn't say following up on that, but echoing that again in how Kazumi thought this would be all over with the proxy fight. Sento and Ryuga thought this would all be over with the proxy fight, and yet the battle still continued because idiot politicians, well, I shouldn't say idiot politicians, a mastermind organization broke the rules, betrayed, and killed people, all to get what they wanted. Insert politicking insult here. But, I guess it's echoing that again because, well, they thought it was all over, and it's just another continuance of the battle, and it's sad, but I don't think they're going to echo it again. At least it would be dumb if they echoed it again with Kazumi, when they've done it twice now, both to give Kazumi the closure he needed and then the resolve to keep fighting in their memory again. At least, in a non-hostile, non-vengeance-seeking manner. Granted, Kazumi's always seemed as the reasonable guy in that he doesn't go all straight-out vengeance quest obsession in response to his friend's death, but he's more understanding of that, but is seeking closure nonetheless. So, yeah, Kazumi is still showing himself as the best secondary rider in that he actually has a story to him, which seems impactful, versus Ryuga, who, as I keep saying, you could honestly just remove from the show and change nothing with how redundant he's been. Granted, the next episode is apparently going to try and change that with Misora's, well, not Misora specifically, but the entity from Mars that's possessing her, which is revealed to be, the Queen of Mars, whose name I am forgetting because it is not actually in the... And it's not in the listing yet, so it's not listed on her page yet, which is frustrating. But yeah, the Queen of Mars in the apparent preview for the next episode believes that Ryuga will have some key to saving the world, which will lead into his obtainment of his upcoming Cross-Z Magma form. Which, hey, we finally get some more time with the original Cross-Z suit after it was so quickly shoved to the side for the Cross-Z charge gear. I wonder if I'm hoping what prompts that is the destruction of his personal Splash driver, because, you know, then that's a good reason for that upgrade to go there instead of, you know, just slotting the Cross-Z Magma full bottle into the Splash driver and use it in the same way that Rogue has with, you know, the Crocodile in form. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got for the moment. I want to think if I have any other updates. Still trying to get the Power Engines and Space videos back up. For those asking, no, I can't just put them up on Daily Motion. That's part of the reason why I kind of redid all of this. I can't access my Daily Motion page anymore due to a software bug update like last year that they still have not fixed yet because they want to make their site more like YouTube, and it failed spectacularly. So, yeah, I'm one of those people that's pretty much just stuck with YouTube, and Vimeo does not work for me at all. Their upload limits are too severely tightened that uploading even one video from me is pretty much beyond their capacity for the... It is beyond their user capacity of what they allow for uploads per month. So, yeah, I can't do it that way either. Vimeo is just terrible about that, which they've always been terrible about that, but I'm surprised that they've never fixed that to try and actually become a YouTube competitor, because the upload limits are kind of what keeps screwing them on that. But yeah, I'm still working on getting that working. I'm still working on getting a few things, like, finished, even though, I'm going to be moving again at the end of the month, so there's probably going to be a, like, week hiatus where I don't have anything to put up, so, yeah, just telling you all in advance of that. I'll probably be missing a week soon enough, so, yeah, that's it for me this week. I'll see y'all later.